Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I'm here with Ryan. How you doing?
Oh, we're here again.
We're here. So
We should tell people, yeah.
we recorded this whole video, and there was audio problems, and so now we get to do it again.
And, people are going to listen to this and think that, you're just torturing me by making me watch terrible movies and
Yes.
having me talk about them. But having to talk about them twice is an extra special torture.
So what I didn't realize, what I learned in the last one, we're of course, you saw the thumbnail. We're of course talking about the birth of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Howard the Duck, at which I didn't realize you had never seen. So I made you watch this.
Yep. It was a movie that came along. I was young enough to not be able to see it or know that it was bad enough that I didn't ever want to see it, and then it never. I am aware of it, and I've never wanted to see it, and I still do not.
It is awful. It is definitely awful. But what's funny is that this movie was kind of Marvel's leading effort. I mean, there was a whole plan behind this to get into all kinds of films. This whole thing set back the MCU years.
Yeah, probably. And it's got George Lucas, so you've got the other side of the Disney conglomerate right there, where
Yes.
He's fresh off of Return of the Jedi and all those Ewok movies, which we're not going to watch, but they're on Disney Plus now, which is really hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's behind Indiana Jones, and then he comes out with this, and
he was hyped.
This
super excited.
Yeah, he was red hot, and this basically was the warning sign that maybe this guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
It was clearly it was. We talked about this last time, and we can go through it quicker. He sunk so much money into it, and then lost so much money that it forced him to sell off part of his the Skywalker Studios, the animation department, that would become Pixar. So, in a way, this Howard the Duck film is responsible for the birth of Pixar.
Yeah. There was originally supposed to be a computer animated duck or something, and then
that would have been completely better.
Then they switched to the Mickey Mouse, park animatronic guy walking around.
Yeah.
So,
okay. So we're gonna go through the plot here. What were you thinking? You turn on this movie, George Lucas, Howard the Duck. You heard it wasn't good, but you're like, it's time to watch it for myself. You tune in, and how fast did you realize you were in for a bad time?
I mean, the opening credit is a bunch of duck puns, and that you're in the Duck universe, and they're all terrible, and it's. I mean, I showed you my notes for this movie, and the first line is duck boobs, which happens at he sits down in his recliner, and then he is sucked off his planet into our universe. But before that, he goes through the wall and past a lady duck who is in a bath, who has actual duck boobs.
Yeah,
it's very confusing. Who is this movie made for? Is
that was weird. I mean, I watched this when I was probably young. I know, I tricked my parents into thinking, George Lucas. The other person coming onto this red hot is Leah Thompson's coming off the Back to the Future films, and she was also both a big time actress and kind of almost sex symbol. And so it's like, but yeah, I could watch Back to the Future with my parents as a kid. That's good. And George Lucas, nothing wrong with that. And then I think 90 seconds into it, we've got duck boobs.
Yeah. So, I mean, we just blow through the plot here. It's a duck. You know Howard the Duck. But instead of being, wisecracking, well, he's sort of wisecracking. It's not that wise, but he's cracking at least. He's sucked to Earth. Right. He's just a horny guy. He's going around, pinching ladies' butts, and instantly, runs afoul with the local street gang or something. And then a motorcycle gang of some sort is involved somewhere. Meets Leah Thompson, who's a punk rock band person playing Thomas Dolby songs. We just did Supergirl, and there's motorcycle gang kind of out to rape in both films. Yeah, a lot of rape going on in the 80s. Yeah, so that's right. That's how he meets Leah Thompson. He stops a couple of rough guys from trying to take advantage of her, let's say. And so she takes him home. She takes him to a scientist, a young Tim Robbins, who's acting like he's in a completely different movie. He's wacky. And then he decides, well, since I'm here, I'm going to get a job. And so he gets a job at what could be described as like a sex spa.
What was that company? I mean, it was
but first he goes to the unemployment office with a crazy black lady who gets all the weirdos, and then he's like hitting on her for some reason.
Yeah, he's very horny through this whole film.
Yeah, again, who is this movie made for? I think it's like people who are males between 15 and 16 and a half who don't have the internet.
And they've got a slight furry complex.
Yeah, something like that. It's a very niche movie, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Furry, ages 15 to 16 and a half. That checks out.
Right. So anyways, he gets the job at the sex spa, but then he gets kicked out. And then,
to people who are listening to this, when we say he gets a job at a sex spa, it was that. This isn't a euphemism. Like he's walking around with towels and like there's an orgy going on. It's a very strange. Like what company is this?
But it's not. It's like PG-13 orgy.
Yeah.
It's like why is this? Yeah. Again,
it is not a Starbucks. That's all I'm saying.
Why is this happening? So then he goes back to Leah Thompson, and then he meets up with the scientist who built the laser that sucked him in. So they're going to reverse it, and so then they invent a bad guy from another dimension.
Yeah, they tear a hole, try to get him home, or a demon comes through.
They're warming up the laser, and then the demon goes into the scientist, who's played by Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, that's not aged well.
Yeah, the Ferris Bueller principal, and I guess pedophile. I don't know. Whatever.
It's right in.
Yeah, sure. Why not? So and so then he's running around with them. There's a diner scene. Diners are big in the 80s, I guess.
Sure.
And then, I don't even remember how this movie ends. They somehow defeat him and send him back. No, wait, they go back to the laser. That's right. And then
I'd tell you to watch it again, but that would be unfair.
So, and then then they set up the sequel that never happens or something where he's.
Yeah, it was. So there's a couple of weird scenes. The part that always gets me is from talking to many other people over the years who have watched this, the scene that people seem to remember is the scene where Howard the Duck is horny and he's trying to get with Leah Thompson. And then she decides to tease him by pretending that she wants to have sex with him. And then he gets nervous. But then the both of them kind of start to maybe, and everything else. And then they get interrupted by Tim Robbins. But it's your earlier question, who is this for? It's an uncomfortable scene. It's funny, maybe, but gross. Why?
You want to see things. I mean, it shows you Leah Thompson running around in her underwear at times, and it's like,
sure, everybody really, who doesn't like that? But still, she's about to have sex with a duck.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. At some point she's like, he's my boyfriend.
Yeah. And you do get, and this is kind of lines up to the comic, which had that relationship between Bev and Howard, but it for some reason, because I after we talked last time, I was like, was it this weird in the comic? And the answer is no. The comic had a lot of the same things. It had the relationship between the two and various kind of scenes, but it, for whatever reason, it didn't come off as insanely creepy as it did in the movie. In the movie, it really no I don't know. I mean, no part of it was pleasant.
Right. So this comes to my hypothetical is, what if we reversed the species of this movie?
Okay.
So instead of a duck coming from his land to the land of humans,
right?
Sucked through a laser, whatever. Is what if it was just some guy? It was just, I don't know, you or me. And
no, not you or me. Yeah.
Well, hopefully not. But we're sitting down, and then our recliner is sucked through the universe to the duck planet.
Yeah.
And then as soon as we get to the duck planet, all we're doing is running around and we're acting horny, and there are a bunch of lady ducks.
Yeah.
Is this a better movie?
It's a different movie. It's okay. I'm thinking like let's say Tom King basically gets sucked into the duck world, and then he's horny for female ducks, and that's 2 hours of that done by George Lucas. That might be a better movie.
I feel like he could get away with more, but there is kind of a.
But do you want to?
No, I don't want to watch that movie either. Actually, no.
It's the uncanny valley, right? Henry Cavill and that mustache they blurred out. This movie's like the uncanny valley of superhero movies in this weird way.
Yeah, because he's like I said, he's like a mascot, and then Jeffrey Jones, when he's infected by the overlords or the whatever scorpion thing that is, right? He's got all these weird like wigs and prosthetics and electricity, but that is also kind of bad effects. But they're different bad effects than the Howard the Duck, bad effects.
Yeah,
like if this was a kids movie and you get rid of the whole Jeffrey Jones thing, then and you like change what Howard is saying, then it doesn't look so bad. Like Howard itself isn't so terrible. It's kind of just the whole package that they put together that it's. You mentioned just Roger Rabbit. Donald Duck.
You mentioned Roger Rabbit last time as kind of this, and that one didn't come up. I mean, that one certainly Roger Rabbit and Jessica Rabbit are horny for each other and everything else, but the movie didn't feel like a skeezy, horny film.
Right. No, it's a different line. It's they went up to the line and then they kind of held it at the right place, I think.
Yeah. I think maybe it was the rapid succession of the unemployment officer is kind of thinking that, I don't know, didn't she make some joke about maybe wanting to eat him at one point, and then she gets him the job at the sex club, and that's just kind of gross, and he's dealing with a lot of sweat and body fluids and
there's a mud bath or something. There's some weird owner, it could have been from striptease, who knows where that kind of came from. But
it was a lot in a very short amount of time. And then and then the villains are kind of always wanting to have sex with Leah Thompson, like from the biker gang to even our possessed demon guy is kind of wanting to have some tentacle sex with her at one point, kind of maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, well, I don't know about that. I mean, he does have like tentacles. He's like he breaks into a nuclear power plant at some point and steals the electricity,
but he kind of fondles her with the tentacles at one point. Or I mean, there's it just, but I can't tell what he's doing at that point. We'd seen a duck condom and all kinds of things by this point.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the duck condom.
Hey, how about that?
Well, again, this is for kids.
Yes,
maybe.
Well, you've got kids. I've got kids. I'm not anxious to show my kids this movie.
No. Let's let this movie be forgotten to time.
How confused would your kids be if you did show them this movie?
I mean, I feel like they would be very confused and then just get up and walk away. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
They have iPads and the Nintendo Switch or whatever. They can. Yeah. They can entertain themselves.
Yeah, my daughter would have moved on to Minecraft a little bit.
Yeah,
it's It's funny because there's people in comics who certainly look at this movie and they remember it fondly as like a part of their history. They kind of hold on to it. But then I think they're forgetting the film they watched. And if you go back and you actually watch this, because I had watched this a long time ago, then I inflicted it on you. We did this first video. The sound was bad. I went and then said, you know what, I should watch this. Because I hadn't watched it as recently. I had just seen clips. So I went and actually sat down and watched it. And it's awful. It's an awful.
Yeah. No, I think the whole Jeffrey Jones being taken over by the alien thing, which is clearly just something somebody tacked on and has no relevance to comics or anything, that they were just like, well, this is how we're going to do this movie. I feel like a better ending or some sort of stakes or something could have changed this, but or made it watchable at least. It could have been at least entertaining.
I've gotten into arguments about this film with people saying, but no, this is what the comic was like. Steve Gerber, who created this character and everything else, but it really wasn't. I mean, the comics had an angle of Howard running for president or for political office, and he and Bev were doing wacky things and everything else. But it was a very different tone, and I can't stress enough how absolutely different of a tone it was than this very weird film.
I mean, it's like it's an 80s. It's just dated and it's in the 80s, and
I
don't know.
It's all the worst parts of an 80s sex comedy, which never manages to be funny or enjoyable because the main character is a duck. And there's a demon person. Yeah. This film has a lot of, noteworthy people in it, but they were all kind of ashamed of it. Leah Thompson was apparently very depressed coming out of this film, and it kind of shook her for several years. She couldn't move on. She had done nothing but popular movies for a while, and then this thing hit, and it apparently wrecked her to some extent, and then she kind of rebounded. But she has recently said she wants to remake this film.
Well, I mean, anything to turn that loss into a win. No, I'm just thinking. It's like I feel like the thing that would make Howard the Duck work is just him in the normal world.
Yeah.
Forget the weird scorpion alien overlord thing. Forget the weird biker gangs. It's like him. It's a satire on like normal world, but they decided to put him in a crazy world. And so it's not satire at all. It's just here's wacky.
Yeah, and that's what the comic was really like. The comic was more satire of kind of, they had crazy situations.
It's like this is normal, except there's a duck in it.
Yeah,
and he is able to say things and interact in a different way.
That was. I think the comic had more of that tone. Even though they did plenty of wacky things, it had more of that tone. Whereas the movie, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out exactly where it went wrong, and it can be summed up with duck boobs.
Yeah.
All right. So your theory is let's get a movie made where a guy goes to a duck planet and is horny.
Well, I mean, is it, Marvel canon that there is a duck planet out there? So
yes.
Why can't a guy from Earth, live on Duck Planet?
That could be the Star-Lord spinoff. Just get him in there, and that's a movie right there. Just Star-Lord doesn't have any of his. I didn't know. I should stop. Well, all right. We're going on to. So this was originally filmed intentionally for April Fool's Day. It does kind of fit that theme. What are we doing after this? What are we? We have Superman 4 we have to get back to, but I really feel like for the good of everybody, we need to do something that you'll enjoy. And
I feel like we got Superman 4, which I don't remember very fondly, but
no, spoiler, again, it's not good.
Spoiler alert, it's not good. But then I feel like the Tim Burton Batmans get to close out the 80s, and I feel like that's a good place to go, because that'll save us for at least 2 movies.
Yeah, and then we can get to Steel and some of that stuff. So, yeah, it's good times. This is the birthplace of Marvel Cinematic Universe. Well, Ryan, thank you very much, and sorry for making you go through that. You think, but do you ever think this way, by the way? I will never see this movie again in my life. I will die and I will never see this film again. Do you ever, I think about things like that sometimes. Like, is this the last time I will ever see this movie? And I hope it is a case for Howard the Duck.
Yeah, I have it. It's the opposite way. It's like, I hope this is the last time I ever have to watch this movie.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Well, Ryan, thank you very much. And I guess Superman 4 is coming up.